Hello, writers. We're back for another week of Writer's Tool Shed. Our words this week are going to take us through some new tools that you're going to be able to use for your writing. Example story. Scalpel, the surgeon called. His face was flushed in concentration. Making the first incision. The nurse took her tool and applied gauze to the blood oozing out from the cut. The odds, like the angle of the operating table, were steep. The patient probably wouldn't make it. He had vile cancerous lumps in places where no vile cancerous lumps should be. The best they could do was probe inside, remove the pieces they could find, and hope they got it all. Our first word, gauze, is a noun. It's thin, loosely woven material. You can see here there's this gauze cloth, cotton gauze. You see gauze a lot in medical situations where they will use it to wrap a wound and soak up the blood. When you're writing, gauze versus mesh. Mesh is another word that's pretty similar because they're both loosely woven. But when you use gauze, you're emphasizing the lightness, the flimsiness of the thing. So you could write the gauzy clouds floated through the sky. But mesh is emphasizing how the strands are woven together. So you could have a mesh that's very strong and firm, like a wire mesh. But you would never say a wire gauze because gauze is light and flimsy. Steep, having an almost straight up and down angle, hard to climb. This mountain here is incredibly steep, and I think if those people went down, they would not survive. When you write with it, what kinds of things can you describe as steep? Putting something steep in front of your character is a great way to get the story moving. If your character has to climb a steep mountain, or if there's suddenly a steep cliff right in front of them, if there's a mountain made of glass, like from a fairy tale that's so steep nobody can even take a few steps up the side, you stick that in front of your character and immediately you have a story. Vile, adjective, disgusting, worthless, evil, often a person's opinion rather than an objective fact. So maybe somebody would say, "Would you like some coffee?" And then the other person would say, "No, I never touch the vile stuff." They're saying, "I think coffee is vile and disgusting," but a lot of people like it. So it's not necessarily something that's completely true for everything. Write with it. What kind of character would say the word vile often? And so you might have a character that you want to portray as very stuck up, or they just hate a lot of things. And so you could send them through life saying like, "Oh, that toy is vile. Oh, this tablecloth is vile. Oh, this coffee is vile." And so it expresses their personality. Lump, noun, a mass of stuff with no clear shape, a swelling. Tom has a huge lump on his head here, probably from being hit with a hammer or something. Write with it. Lump versus bump. When would you say lump and when would you say bump? When you're talking about on your body, bumps tend to be smaller. You could say, "Oh, I have a bunch of red bumps on my arm," and then someone would picture small circles that are not too high. But if you said, "I have a bunch of red lumps on my arm," then you would expect the lumps to be at least the size of a quarter and sticking out maybe like a marble. Um, a lump is more often found by itself, and bumps. If you have only one bump, "I got a bump on my head," then you're talking about the action that someone came and gave you a hit on the head. Probe, to search something, especially by physically touching it or going inside of it. So the dentist says, "Oh, looks like you have a cavity. Let me probe it with these tools." And you would say, "No, no, 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 no." Write with it. Probe versus explore versus investigate. So probe means to touch something physically, to go and poke at it, or you go inside. Explore is more like you're in a large space and you're going through all of these different places to try to see what's there. Investigate is you're looking for clues. So you would never say that I'm probing the murder. No, that doesn't make sense.